Now, I've already talked about this in prior videos. I like to use data to trade assets, and crypto, especially Bitcoin, tends to move in trends. And so a nice trend following strategy is to use golden crosses and death crosses. So that's a cross of two moving averages, a faster one and a slower one. Now, most people just randomly pick two moving averages, say the 10-day moving average with the 100-day moving average, and they say, okay, now is the golden cross, now is the death cross, let's go long, let's go short. But this channel is about using data. And so what we see here in the background, that's simulations of buying and selling Bitcoin using different durations for the moving averages. Yes, granted, it's a pretty complex chart, but the idea is that we look at all possible combinations of slow moving averages here on the x-axis and fast moving averages here on the y-axis. We look at what kind of moving average crosses should we use, and whenever this is green, it means this particular strategy of two moving averages performed pretty well. Whenever this is red, it means it did not perform well at all. This data, by the way, comes from Bitcoin Strategy Analytics. That's the backtesting platform available to all premium members. And have a look at how well the 2-day combined with the 116-day simple moving average works for Bitcoin. Buying and holding through the time period, so we are backtesting since the beginning of 2018, would have given 21% per annum. But the trading strategy gives 76% per annum. And yes, we do have financing fees included, so 11%, and we also have a trading fee, 0.05%. Both of those numbers are typical for perpetual futures exchanges. And so I've already talked about this strategy several times on this channel. I don't want to repeat this too much, but there are several buckets of information for that strategy. And this is how the performance looks like over time using those golden and death crosses. That's without leverage, and that's with a fixed betting size. So very nice, consistent moneymaker. And really, the 2-day moving average is just a very slightly smoothed version of the price chart. So we just remove a bit of the volatility. Right now, we are still bearish. The 2-day moving average is below the 116-day moving average, which, by the way, is currently at a bit under $78,000. There's also copy trading for this particular trend following strategy, so for Bitcoin, but we've also got Ethereum and Solana. The Bitcoin trend follower made roughly $500,000 so far since October of last year. Then we try to figure out what's the ideal leverage. For the long position, that's 2.5x. For the short position, that's 4.5x. But if we are a bit more conservative with our short, we reduce the volatility as well. That's then how the portfolio measured in Bitcoin goes up over time. Now, why am I making this video again? Why am I talking again about this strategy? It's because we've got a refinement to this chart now. This looks at the entire history since 2018. What crosses work the best? But it's hard to say. Should we maybe potentially take the crosses over here over the crosses over here, because maybe those moving averages worked better in the recent past, and those are just a relict of maybe the price crosses in 2018, 2019, 2020. How did actually the best performing moving average crosses develop over time? How consistent are those results? We know that the particular strategy has quite consistent return, but we don't necessarily know if the particular strategies over here perform better in the recent past. And so that's why there's now a new tool, the rolling window tool. What are we doing here? We are again analyzing the best golden and death crosses, but this time we take a particular time window. So in this case, 4 years, and we roll that time window half a year after half a year and check the picture over time. So does a particular strategy work better in the early days or in the later days? We're just rolling that performance over time to see the consistency. And so then we get this chart. This just shows the performance from January 2018 to January 2022. So 4 years. But once we click play, we see how this develops over time. We're jumping half a year every single time. and we can see our selection over here, right? The 2-day and 116-day, and we can see how this compares over time. So is this actually the best selection over time? Now we see here in the early days that this is mainly the green area, and we see then in the later years how this area becomes more profitable. It seems like in the early days it was mainly the shorter term moving averages that did well, and then as time progressed, as we get closer to today, there's more and more green on the right side and more green here at the bottom. So I do think, just looking at this analysis over here, that we should rather error on the side of longer term moving averages between 110 and 200 in combination with something between 0 and 30. Again, we use this data point over here because that's the best over the entire time frame. That's again this chart here. But this analysis very nicely shows that the market does mature over time, that things that used to work don't necessarily always continue to work, that as an asset becomes more mature, becomes less volatile, we want to also account for that with longer time horizons. There's also now a consistency score in the backtester. So this strategy has a 70 out of 100. And what we see here at the bottom, that's again 4-year windows. How was the absolute return? Here we've got the relative alpha again for every 4-year period, trading Bitcoin according to the 2-day plus 116-day simple moving average outperformed just buying and holding. And it outperformed to different degrees. In the last 4-year time window, it was by 246%. Again, right now we are still bearish despite the recent price increase. If you enjoy content like this, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time here on YouTube, or potentially even in premium if you want to know my trades or if you want to use the backtesting tool. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Cheers.